Imagine a steel pipe 33 feet wide, sealed shut, and dropped 600 feet beneath the surface of the ocean. Inside this pipe there is no sunlight, there is no fresh air, there is no day, and there is no night. The pressure outside is squeezing the hull with enough force to crush a pickup truck into a soda can. And inside this pipe, 130 people are trying to eat, sleep, and work without killing each other. This is the world of the United States Submarine Force, the silent service. While aircraft carriers project power with noise and fury, submarines operate in the shadows. They are the assassins of the deep, but they are also the most extreme social experiment on the planet. For 90 days at a time, these sailors vanish. They miss birthdays, funerals, and the birth of their children. They live in a world where the air is manufactured, the water is recycled, and the only way to tell time is by the type of meat on your plastic tray. But recently, this brotherhood has changed. For over a century, this was a world of men only. Today, women are serving alongside them, breaking the final barrier of the Navy, living in the same cramped quarters, facing the same crushing pressure. So how do you survive in a machine designed to kill but not designed for comfort? How do you cook dinner for 100 people in a kitchen the size of a closet? And what happens when you put men and women in a sealed tube for 3 months with no escape? Welcome to the deep. Take a deep breath. It might be the last fresh one you get for a while. The first thing that hits you when the hatch closes isn't the claustrophobia, it's the smell. Submariners call it the smell. It is a chemical called amine. It's used in the scrubbers to remove carbon dioxide from the air so the crew doesn't suffocate. It smells like a mixture of old gym socks, burnt plastic, and crushed ozone. It gets into everything: your clothes, your hair, your skin. You can scrub yourself raw in the shower, but you can't get it out. When a submariner comes home and opens their duffel bag, their spouse knows instantly. That smell is the scent of survival. Then there is the atmosphere. The air you breathe is recycled. Machines strip out the CO2 and add oxygen produced by splitting water molecules. But they keep the oxygen levels slightly lower than on the surface to reduce the risk of fire. This means you are constantly tired. Your body feels heavy. Cuts and scrapes take twice as long to heal because there is no sunlight to help your skin recover. And there is no silence. The boat is alive, it groans, it creaks as the pressure changes depth. There is the constant hum of the ventilation fans, the whine of the hydraulic pumps, the distant thrum of the nuclear reactor coolant loops. If the fans stop, everyone wakes up instantly. Silence is terrifying. Silence means something is broken. In this alien world, there is one thing that keeps the crew human: food. On a submarine, food is not just nutrition, it is the clock, it is the calendar, it is the only source of joy in a gray world. The culinary specialists on a sub are the most popular or the most hated people on the boat. Let's talk about the logistics because they are insane. Before a patrol, a submarine loads about 15 tons of food. But here is the problem: a submarine has almost no storage space. So where do they put it? Everywhere. In the first 2 weeks of a deployment, you are literally walking on your dinner. The crew lines the hallways with number 10 cans of vegetables, coffee, and flour. They lay plywood sheets over the cans, and that becomes the floor. As you eat your way through the patrol, the floor slowly gets lower. They stuff loaves of bread into the torpedo tubes that aren't loaded with weapons. They pack boxes of cereal into the shower stalls. Every cubic inch is calories. The menu is a countdown. For the first 10 days you eat like a king: fresh salad, fresh milk, fresh eggs, real fruit, but the clock is ticking. The lettuce wilts first. Then the tomatoes turn to mush. The milk runs out. Once the fresh hits are gone, you enter the era of UHT milk, ultra-high temperature pasteurized milk. It comes in a box. It doesn't need refrigeration. It can sit on a shelf for 6 months. It tastes thick, sweet, and slightly burnt. You put it on your cereal, but you try not to think about it. Then the eggs change. The shells disappear. The cooks start using liquid eggs from a carton or worse, powdered eggs. By month 2, everything is canned, frozen, or dehydrated. This is when the cooks have to be artists. How do you make a can of mushrooms and a slab of frozen beef taste like morale? You use grease, you use garlic, and you use the deep fryer. Submariners joke that fat is flavor. Because the air has less oxygen, your sense of taste is dulled. So the food tends to be spicier, saltier, and heavier than what you would eat on land. But the most important machine on the boat isn't the torpedo launcher. It's the soft-serve ice cream machine. It is the auto dog. It runs 24/7. It is always there. When you finish a grueling 6-hour watch monitoring the sonar screens and your eyes are bleeding from fatigue, a cone of fake chocolate ice cream is the only thing that makes life worth living. If the auto dog breaks, the morale of the entire boat crashes within hours. For over 100 years, the submarine force was a no-girls-allowed club. The argument was always about logistics. There is no privacy, there are no separate bathrooms, it can't be done. But in 2010, the Navy decided that talent matters more than plumbing. They began integrating women onto submarines. First officers, then enlisted sailors. Today, roughly 20% of US submarines have mixed-gender crews. So how does it actually work in a steel tube the size of a bus? The Navy didn't build new submarines for this. They had to retrofit the old ones. On an Ohio-class boat, which is massive, it's easier. The women usually take over one of the bunk rooms. The sign on the door changes. But the bathroom, the head, is the tricky part. There is often only one shower room for the enlisted crew. They use a simple system, a reversible sign on the door. One side says men, the other side says women. If the sign says women, the guys have to wait. If a guy forgets to flip the sign when he leaves, he gets yelled at. If he walks in without checking, he gets in serious trouble. It sounds chaotic, but sailors adapt fast. It becomes just another procedure like checking a valve. But the real challenge for the first women on board wasn't the bathroom. It was the microscope. Imagine being the first female sailor on a boat with 130 men. Every mistake you make is magnified. If a guy is late for watch, he's just a dirtbag. If a woman is late, the critics say, see, women can't handle the sub life. The pressure to be perfect is crushing. These women have to be tougher, smarter, and more professional than their male counterparts, just to be considered average. But something interesting happens after a few weeks underwater. The novelty wears off. When you are exhausted, covered in grease, and trying to fix a broken oxygen generator at 3:00 a.m., nobody cares about your gender. They care if you know how to use a wrench. The submarine dolphin pin, the badge of a qualified submariner, is the great equalizer. Once a woman earns her dolphins, she isn't a female sailor anymore. She is just a brother of the fin. Well, the dynamic shifts from men versus women to us versus the ocean. However, privacy remains a luxury neither gender has. Let's talk about hot racking. On attack submarines, which are smaller than the ballistic missile boomers, there are often more people than beds. 130 sailors, 110 beds, do the math, 3 people share 2 bunks. When you wake up to go on watch, you roll out of your sleeping bag. 10 minutes later, a guy who just finished his watch climbs into your bed. The mattress is still warm from your body heat. It is intimate in a way that is purely survival. You learn to sleep instantly. You learn to ignore the smell of someone else's sweat on the pillow. For the women on board, hot racking is usually avoided by giving them a dedicated bunk room, but this creates its own tension. Some men grumble that the women are taking up space. But usually the command tries to manage the numbers so everyone suffers equally. Life on a sub is a grinder. Traditionally, submarines operated on an 18-hour day. 6 hours on watch, 6 hours off, 6 hours to sleep. The problem is human biology runs on 24 hours. The 18-hour day drove sailors insane. They were constantly jet-lagged. Recently, the Navy switched to 8-hour watches. It's better, but the fatigue never leaves. Most of the crew works in the dark. Sonar operators sit in a blue-lit room wearing headphones listening to the ocean. They can hear a whale singing 50 miles away. They can hear a shrimp snapping its claws. They can hear the propeller of a Russian submarine churning the water. It is a high-stress video game where the stakes are life and death. The torpedomen sleep in the torpedo room. Literally, the racks are built in between the Mk-48 heavyweight torpedoes. You are sleeping on top of high explosives. The fish, as they call the torpedoes, are treated better than the people. They are kept clean, temperature-controlled, and monitored constantly. And then there are the nukes, the nuclear machinists and electricians who live back aft in the engine room. It is hot back there, noisy, they babysit the reactor. They are the smartest guys on the boat and usually the strangest. They spend months staring at gauges, knowing that if they mess up, the boat becomes a radioactive tomb. Because the work never stops, the eating never stops. Midrats, midnight rations. This is the meal served from 11:00 p.m. to midnight. It is the culinary Wild West. This is where the cooks get rid of the leftovers. Maybe it's pizza made from leftover hot dog buns and ketchup. Maybe it's ravolas, ravioli, and lasagna mixed together. But sometimes it's breakfast. Submariners love breakfast for dinner. Imagine sitting in a swaying metal room deep underwater, eating a greasy omelet and tater tots while the guy next to you talks about the weird noise he heard on sonar. The mess deck, the dining area, is the only place where you can sit down. It's tiny, 4 tables, maybe 20 seats. This is the town square. On Saturday nights, if the mission allows, it becomes a movie theater. They hang a sheet. They project a movie, but it's not just watching. Submariners are hecklers. They have watched the same movies 50 times. They quote the lines, they scream at the screen. It is a ritual of shared madness. And one special tradition, halfway night. When the patrol is exactly 50% done, the captain announces halfway night. The cooks go all out, ribeye steaks, crab legs, a massive cake. They hold a raffle. The prizes are things that sound ridiculous to civilians but are gold to submariners. Get out of cleaning duty for a week. First place in the chow line. An extra 10 minutes in the shower. It marks the psychological turning point. You are now swimming home. We have to talk about the showers again. Submarines make their own water, but it's energy intensive. Showers are strictly limited, 3 to 5 minutes. But here is the catch. There are usually only 2 or 3 shower stalls for the entire enlisted crew. The line is always there. You learn to shower efficiently. And laundry, that's even worse. There are 2 washers and 2 dryers for 130 people. You get a designated laundry day once every week or 10 days. You put all your clothes in a mesh bag. You pray they come back clean. Submariners wear a blue coverall called a poopy suit. It's comfortable, it's fire retardant, and you wear it every single day. By the end of the week, it stands up on its own. The smell of a berthing compartment full of unwashed poopy suits is something you never forget. But the hardest part isn't the smell or the food or the lack of showers, it's the angle. When a submarine dives deep or surfaces quickly, the floor tilts, steeply, sometimes 20 or 30 degrees. You are walking uphill to get to the bathroom. Your soup bowl slides off the table. It is a constant physical reminder that you are in a machine fighting the laws of physics. And there is the isolation from the world. Submarines have no internet underwater. None. Carriers have slow Wi-Fi. Submariners have nothing. They receive family grams, short text-only messages sent via low-frequency radio waves, 40 words maximum. Dog died, mom is sick, miss you. Or baby took first steps, love you. You can't reply instantly, you are a ghost. This isolation creates a strange mental state. You stop caring about the news. Presidents change, wars start, celebrities die, and you don't know. You live in a time capsule. Your entire universe is the 130 people around you. Arguments happen, fistfights happen. but mostly intense friendships happen. You know everything about your shipmates, how they snore, what they fear, what their wife's cooking tastes like. You are closer to them than your own siblings. After 90 days, the mission ends. The boat heads for the surface. Emergency blow drills are the most exciting part. The captain orders the ballast tanks blown with high-pressure air. The sub shoots up like a rocket. The angle is steep. You have to hold onto the railings. The boat breaches the surface like a whale crashing down into the foam. Then the hatch opens, fresh air. The first breath of real air after 3 months is intoxicating. It smells sweet. It smells like salt and earth. It burns your lungs because it's so rich in oxygen. Sailors climb up to the bridge, squinting at the sun. Their skin is pale, almost translucent. Their eyes hurt from the brightness. When they pull into port, there is no massive fanfare like the aircraft carriers get. There is a small crowd on the pier, families, wives, husbands. The submarine ties up quietly. The crew walks off. They carry their bags of dirty laundry. They smell like Amine. They look normal to the outside world, but they are carrying secrets. They have been places no one else has been. They have done things no one else knows about. They are the silent service. They will go home. They will eat a fresh salad. They will take a long, hot shower without a timer. They will sleep in a wide bed that doesn't move. But in a few months, they will start to miss it. They will miss the clarity of the mission. They will miss the simplicity of the tube, and they will miss the brothers and sisters who lived in the dark with them. So the next time you look at the ocean, remember, beneath that blue surface right now there is a steel pipe. And inside it, a girl from Ohio is monitoring a sonar screen and a guy from Texas is baking bread. They are tired, they are hungry, they smell terrible, and they are the only thing standing between us and the unknown. If you think you could survive 90 days without sunlight or a phone, hit that like button. If the idea of hot tracking makes you claustrophobic, let me know in the comments. Subscribe to the channel for more deep dives into the hidden world of the military. Until next time, rig for dive.